Welcome back to the third installment of Bonnaroo's Most Underrated Artists for 2023. If you're just tuning into this series for the first time, I've been digging through this year's lineup to find some of the most underrated acts on the farm. Bonnaroo is notoriously good at booking acts early in their careers before they blow up. For example, I got no rules, I got it. I got no rules, I got it. So I'm digging through every single artist on the lineup, so you don't have to. Who knows? It might be your only chance to catch your future favorite artist up close and personal before they blow up. It's not a perfect metric, but I'm using Spotify's monthly listener numbers to find out who's been flying under the radar. And so for this episode, I'm going to be focusing on artists in the 300K monthly listener range. Well, I'm lying. The first two artists are actually coming in under 300K because I missed them last episode. It's not my fault. Spotify likes to switch up numbers on me way faster than I can keep up. Anyway, first up is Makaya McCraven with 257,000 monthly listeners, and I love this guy. He's the reason I think making these videos is worth it. Jazz, it's jazz, like real jazz. I don't know why Bonnaroo doesn't have more jazz. Either way, Makaya is bringing it to the farm on Sunday, and I'm all for it. Makaya plays drums in the bands, but he also composes, produces the music, and I'm just psyched for this act overall. Good find, underrated. Do you hear that, chaos? That is Black Midi, and they're up next with 279,000 monthly listeners. And I've been following Black Midi for a bit, and you should not be sleeping on Black Midi if you're into chaotic, progressive post-punk jazz. You're not gonna leave that Friday set bored, to say the least. Black Midi is one of those acts that doesn't seem to take themselves too seriously, and clearly, they're just having a ton of fun on stage. Their sound is all over the place in the best way possible. Must watch for me. Do you like the blues? No, I mean like legit classic Mississippi Delta, talking about hard times blues? If you do, Christone Kingfish Ingram is your guy, coming into the list at 320,000 monthly listeners. He's only 24, but he's an incredible guitarist with an old soul, bringing blues to the farm on Friday afternoon. If you don't know him by his performer pseudonym, this next artist will probably come off as the single biggest curveball Bonnaroo has to offer. Can you guess who it is? Diesel dunks onto this list with 340,000 listeners. And if the bad pun wasn't a giveaway, yes, that's Shaq Diesel, as in Shaquille O'Neal, the famous ad spokesperson. Oh, and he played basketball for a bit too. Diesel is a DJ and is purely focused on throwing down nonstop adrenaline-pumping tracks to keep the hype going through his entire set. Believe it or not, this is not as big of a gimmick as it sounds. Once you get over the novelty factor of Shaq being a DJ or whatever, you'll actually see he's pretty passionate about performing, and he actually does care about the kind of music he's mixing. On top of that, he's just like a solid dude.
Make sure you help that person out. Make sure you help that person out. Hook them up, hook them up. Hook them up, hook them up. You up, you good? Everybody back up. You come to have fun. All right? Make sure y'all protect my ladies too.
If that's not radiating positivity, I don't know what is, but good on you, Shaq. You can catch his set on Friday. Speaking of Shaq, I was inspired by his ability to seemingly appear in every single commercial possible and decided that now would be a great time to remind you to subscribe to this channel. If you're liking this content and want to see more of these, it helps me out a ton. And let's be honest, you were probably never going to do this research in the first place, and I may have just helped you find your new favorite artist. Just saying. Okay. Back to the video. Ezra Furman is next with 345,000 monthly listeners. She's bringing a ton of indie rock goodness to the farm Thursday. To me, her music felt like a bit of a throwback to the invasion of indie rock that took over in the early 2010s, but with a modern twist. She was also responsible for composing the soundtrack for Netflix's Sex Education, so you may have already heard Ezra's music before. She's definitely one to check out if you're into that scene, indie rock, alternative, etc., etc. You get the idea. Jenny Lewis drops in next with 364,000 fans on Spotify, and I had always heard her name floating around, but it wasn't until compiling this list that I really checked her out. If you recognize the name, it may be because she was in a couple of movies, or maybe you recognize her as a contributing member to the iconic Postal Service album, Give Up. Either way, Jenny stands alone above her past accomplishments and has polished her own unique sound that blends a bit of alt-rock with some country and pop sprinkled in. She'll be showcasing her tunes for The Farm on Saturday. Next up on the list is attorney-turned-artist Danielle Ponder, who immediately stands out as a powerhouse with her impressive and powerful vocals. And this is not a lie, she previously was a successful attorney with a bright career ahead of her, and she decided to quit that and follow her dreams of making music. And I'm here for all of that. We here at SoundLearn support people following their dreams clearly. I can relate. I'm not making money off of this, but I like it. She's got roughly 365,000 listeners at the time of this recording. I predict that number is going to rise over the next few months. Her sound is a mix of R&B, blues, pop, rock, a little bit of trip hop. For me, she's a can't miss act, so you can check her out on Saturday. And so we wrap today's episode with a bang with Big Freedia, clocking in at 385,000 monthly listeners. Drag brunch on the farm? How does that not sound like a blast? Now, I don't know if Freedia will be playing during brunch hours, but you get the vibe. Non-stop partying and that anything goes energy is sure to make for a great set on Thursday. It's also worth mentioning that while Big Freedia is more than just a drag show performer and is an artist in their own right, the elephant in the room can't be ignored. The state of Tennessee just recently passed a bill that bans drag show performances from public spaces, which is just, Well, luckily, Bonnaroo has recently reassured festival goers that Bonnaroo will remain a safe space for anyone to party their hearts out in any way they feel they need to. So props to Bonnaroo, a festival that generates a ton of revenue for the state of Tennessee, for making a statement on that. Given all that drama, it's good to know that the vibes at Freedia set will be running on all cylinders. Anyway, that about wraps up this episode. We're getting closer to Bonnaroo, and that means only a few episodes left in this series. Follow along by subscribing, and hey, while you're at it, let me know if you've found your new favorite artist through one of these episodes. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.